Hey, hello. My name is Matthew Dipple with Airtight Engineering, and I'm going to be guiding you through the recorded version of the Getting Real About Home Energy workshop. This workshop is geared towards real estate agents in the province of Saskatchewan. It's being put on by Airtight Engineering in partnership with the City of Saskatoon and the Saskatchewan Realtors Association. As well, it's receiving funding from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So let's talk a little bit about some introductory material. First of all, introduce myself. As I said, my name is Matthew. I'm a professional engineer here in Saskatchewan. I'm also a certified passive house designer. So passive house is a high performance energy efficient building standard. And I instruct courses with Passive House Canada, which is a nonprofit here in Canada. I specialize in energy modeling, mechanical design, and also building science training. And I'm excited to be able to present this content to you today. So we've got 7 modules, and this recorded version, we're going to break it up into 7 different videos. So this video will talk about module 1, which is the why. So why care about home energy efficiency? So we'll take a look at that. And at the end of this video, you are welcome to then carry on and watch the next series of videos. We'll be talking about energy code and energy labeling in module 2. We'll take a look at some building science principles in module 3 and specifically how they relate to energy efficiency. Module 4 will be all about energy efficiency in the home, so kind of one of our core modules. Module 5, we'll talk a little bit about energy retrofits. Module 6, we're going to talk about home scale renewable energy, so primarily that will be covering solar. And module 7, we'll look at some energy efficiency incentives and tools that are available for you. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in. So probably question number 1 that we should address is why care about home energy efficiency? Why does it matter to real estate agents in particular? We can look at this question from a few different perspectives, and it's helpful to kind of understand where some of those different perspectives are coming from. So first of all, we have the occupant's perspective. So why does efficiency matter for a homeowner? Next, we've got the real estate agent perspective. Why should energy efficiency in the home matter for you as real estate agents? And then finally, we have the community and the society perspective. So as a society, why do we care about this? We've got a number of factors for occupants. The first, and you'll notice it's in bold, is comfort. This is something that we often hear from our clients is efficiency in a home ends up also impacting comfort. So if you've got a really well-insulated home, it's not only more energy efficient, it's also more comfortable for you as the occupant. Second, health. In general, efficient homes are healthy homes. So we tend to see this correlation between a house that's built to be more energy efficient and one that's actually healthier for the occupants in terms of air quality, in terms of not having drafts or cold spots and that sort of thing. Savings, we see this is maybe the one that we would think of most obviously, but we see cost savings when it comes to energy efficiency. So savings on our energy bills at the end of the month. Next is resiliency. So let's say you've got a house and all of a sudden the power grid is down. Well, how long do you have in that house if it's wintertime in Saskatchewan before it's uncomfortable and then before it's no longer even habitable? So if we've got a very efficient house, it's going to be more resilient to that type of outage and is going to be more comfortable for longer without heating and also safer for longer. And finally, environmental stewardship. A lot of home occupants are starting to think about the environmental footprint of their home and not only want to save money, but also want to help contribute to kind of protecting our environment and living in right relationship with our environment. So digging in a little more, comfort is made up of a few different factors. We can talk about this idea of thermal comfort, and thermal comfort includes stuff like the indoor air humidity. So we can experience humidity that's comfortable versus too humid or too dry that we'll experience as kind of discomfort. Indoor air temperatures. So is it cold in our space? Is it warm in our space? Also, the temperature of surfaces can have a big impact on thermal comfort. So even if the air is sitting at 20 degrees, what happens if the walls are cold and they're sort of radiating that cold towards you? You'll experience that as discomfort. And another one is draftiness. So if you have a leaky, drafty house, even if it's warm inside, you might still be uncomfortable and experience discomfort. As well, our air quality also contributes to comfort. So think of a house that you've been in that's stuffy, that's got that, you walk into a room and you can tell that the air is stuffy or maybe has an odor to it, it's not fresh. That also impacts our comfort as residents. So we've got a little scale there. We can see the comfortable range for indoor air humidity is generally 20 to 60 or even 30 to 60% relative humidity. So if we build an efficient home, we're more easily able to get our air into that humidity range. Health is another big thing for occupants. So a healthy building is a building we would say that keeps the occupants healthy rather than makes them sick. And the reason that energy efficiency has an impact on this is it turns out that if we have well insulated walls that and ceiling and floor that don't leak air and good quality windows that don't have cold surfaces, we have much lower chance for mold growth and kind of the growth of mildews and molds inside those walls or maybe on window surfaces that might be experiencing condensation. So if we can avoid that mold growth and we can keep the air in our house turning over and keep a good amount of fresh air in our house, that is going to help keep the occupants healthy. So this is something that we see is that in general, energy efficient buildings that have been built using sound building science techniques are also healthier as well. So this is something that we want to do. So I talked about air quality already. I talked about mold and mildew. Also, good thermal comfort is going to help people with their health, especially if they're maybe a vulnerable population, let's say the elderly, or have some sort of compromised health in another respect. Being in a space that is thermally comfortable is going to put less stress on a person's body. Something else, this is maybe a bit of a sideline from energy efficiency, but looking for non-toxic products and finishes in our spaces as well is going to help with the health of that space. You may have noticed, but we actually see comfort and health overlap quite a bit. So the two of those are certainly closely related. This chart that I'm showing in the slide to the right-hand side there is just an interesting kind of visual of the health impacts of relative humidity of the air. So it turns out if our air is too moist inside, too humid, it's actually going to increase the chance that we've got a bunch of different things that could grow or develop, such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, mites, etc. You can see that they're more likely to grow and kind of multiply at higher humidities, as well at lower humidities too. So we have other issues that if the humidity is too low. So both in terms of things that can grow, bacteria and viruses, but also in terms of our own membranes, right? So our respiratory mucous membranes start to dry out, and then that leads to higher chances of infection, asthma, etc. So we definitely want to, if we can, keep our humidity inside in that sort of middle zone. So let's talk about cost savings. If we've got an efficient home, no surprises here. It's going to mean lower energy bills for us. And so that is a good thing in terms of our financial resilience. Let's say you've got energy prices that double. Well, if you're paying $25 a month for heating versus $250 a month for heating, that doubling is going to affect you much differently. We also see savings in terms of our greenhouse gas or fossil fuel emissions. And if we do want to add some sort of say, solar power or other renewable energy to make our house net zero. If we've got an efficient house, we can save by putting in a smaller photovoltaic or PV system. And resilience. We saw, I know this winter of 2024 in January, here in Saskatchewan, we saw a pretty big cold snap, a couple of weeks down in the minus 30s to minus 40s. And our house that's efficient is going to be more able to get us through this type of extreme weather event. So not only is it going to keep our pipes from freezing and keep things safe in the house, it's going to keep us more comfortable for longer. So if we get some sort of power outage event, I know Alberta it was in the news, that talk of needing to actually have some rolling blackouts. Thankfully, they avoided that. But if you have a rolling blackout and can't heat your house for a period of a few hours, if you've got a highly insulated, airtight, well-built house, it's going to actually be much more comfortable through that period that you don't have power available to you. And finally, environmental stewardship. A lot of homeowners we see, especially in our practice where we focus on high performance homes, are starting to really want to care for the environment with the type of house that they build. So they're motivated not just by comfort, savings, and health, they're also motivated by caring for the planet as well. So this involves reducing greenhouse gas emissions, which are often associated with our energy use, but also reducing water and waste generation as well. Let's talk a little bit about the real estate agent perspective now. Some of the things that you might be concerned about as a real estate agent. One thing that comes to mind is price. So the price of a home. How does energy efficiency of a home affect its price? Also, time on market. Is it a house that's going to be easy to sell or challenging to sell? Is it going to take a long time? And so we can actually look at a few recent studies that address some of those. It's also important as a real estate agent to understand some of the policy that's coming in around home energy efficiency. So we've got kind of these top-down policy changes that are coming down the pipe, first on the national level, and then also the provincial and municipal level. And we also see bottom-up changes. So these are driven by our client requirements. So what are people asking for and kind of requiring their homes to do? And we've also got this societal and sort of environmental stewardship perspective for real estate agents. You might be thinking that it's important to be selling energy efficient homes, right? That might be something that's important to you to care for the earth through your real estate agent practice. So let's look at some different studies. First of all, we've got this Clean Air Partnership survey. So this is a Canadian study. They surveyed just over 1,000 Canadians who are considering renovating or purchasing a home. And this is what they found out. So first of all, they asked how important is it to know if a home is energy efficient and the approximate operating costs of a home. Now, look at the vast majority of people are saying it's very important to moderately important. So we've got 96% of people are falling into those two camps. Very important to moderately important. That's pretty striking percentage in my mind. Another question that was asked was looking at the drivers for getting a home energy evaluation. And I want to focus on the three drivers to the left there. So the first one, the biggest one, was I want to know where I could save money on my utility bills. So people are interested, those who are looking to renovate or purchase a home, they're interested in where they can save money. That's something that's important to them. The second one there, 40% of people want to protect the environment. So interesting, we've got this kind of, maybe more personal finances focus for 66% of people. And then we also have 40% of people who additionally say they've got this altruistic goal of protecting the environment as well. And then the next one, 38% said, I want to increase the value of my home. So this is, I think, particularly of interest for a real estate agent because we're seeing individuals equating efficiency with increased value in their home. And then finally, people were asked, would they pay a premium for an efficient home? And we've got certainly a spread here. We can see at the top end, only 2% of respondents said that they would pay greater than a 10% premium for an efficient home. And moving on down the list, it looks like the majority of people are falling in that 0 to 2% or the 2 to 5% premium bucket. But it is interesting to note that only 23% would not pay a premium. So that means, over 2/3 of people have said that they're willing to pay a premium for more energy efficient homes. Some of you might be familiar with the Canadian Homebuyers Association Home Buyer Preference Survey. So this is a survey that the CHBA does every year, and they survey many homeowners across the country. Here they've got 20,000 home buyers across 6 provinces, and they were surveyed on over 50 home features. I would like to just point out that in the 2023 results, in the top 10 most desired features, 4 of those had to do with energy efficiency. So this is really a signal, I think, of the kind of movement of home buyers towards energy efficient homes and their desire for energy efficient features in their homes. Here's an interesting study that we found. This is from the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, so coming out of the States. They did an experiment to understand the impact of energy efficiency on real estate listings. So they did a simulation of a real estate website, and they had just over 1,500 Americans participate in this survey. And they had on the bottom, the picture on the bottom right, you can see the control listing. So it's a listing for a house, and above it, you can see the energy efficient version. So the difference is they've added an energy efficiency score to it. So see that little bar with 8 highlighted. It's kind of small, I realize. But what they were looking at was what's the difference in clicks and sort of interest in a listing on the condition on the control versus on the version with some sort of home energy score. What they found was 14% of participants were more likely to click on some of the most efficient listings when they had that energy score, and 23% were less likely to click on the least efficient listings relative to that control group. So they saw that having an energy efficient score and then having a home that scored well with that energy efficiency listing actually really drove interest and kind of drove clicks on those listings. As part of the study, they found that homeowners were willing to increase the purchase price of a home by about 6% for a 1-point increase on this 10-point energy efficiency scale. So this 10-point scale wasn't really defined what it meant, but an increase of 1 point was sort of equal to about a 6% home cost increase for people. And they equated this to a 1.25 point increase on this scale was equal to about a 25% increase in square footage in terms of what people were willing to pay. So to me, the interesting thing in this study is it's really showing that home buyers are willing to pay more and are more interested in homes that are energy efficient. Here's another study. This is an American study from the National Conference of State Legislatures. This is a little bit older, so 2017. And again, it's from the States, so there's probably some aspects that are a little bit less applicable to our market in Canada. And so I want you to focus less on the particular numbers, but more just on the trends. So in general, they saw that certified homes were selling for more. So 2 to 12% more or 13% more in this study. And also certified homes were selling for faster. So 18 to 89 days faster. So when we say certified, these were homes that had some sort of energy efficient certification to them. So we saw them selling for more and also selling faster. Now, I do also want to add the caveat that, of course, as you know, these are not the only factors that influence time on market and selling price. So we've got lots of other You can't just guarantee that an energy efficient home is going to sell faster and for more, depending on other market factors, but good to understand these trends. So let's look a little bit at some of our national priorities. So this is now we're starting to transition from a real estate agent perspective to more of our societal perspective on why we should care about home energy efficiency. So we've got some national commitments to reduce our total emissions here in Canada. And so the biggest one would be the Paris Climate Agreement. And we can see that residential and commercial buildings account for a sizable chunk of our total emissions as a country. So 13% of our total greenhouse gas emissions are from residential and commercial buildings. So this is an impactful area that we can work on to actually reduce our emissions nationally and hit some of our international commitments. To that end, the federal government has some policies and incentives. We could kind of divide these into the carrot group, which would be helping lead people along, and the stick group, which is the kind of minimum bar that we have to hit legally. So both approaches can be helpful for moving behavior. And so on the left, we see the Canada Greener Homes grants and loans. We'll talk a bit more about those. So those actually, just as of the time of this recording, they're no longer accepting applications, but my understanding is that there's going to be sort of a new program coming out at some point, announced shortly. We've got EnerGuide labeling, so you have the ability to get an audit done of your home energy use, to put a label on it, which will then help people see how efficient it is and hopefully drive some value, some increased value to that home. And there's also some other kind of incentives as well that are on a larger scale. So we've got these local energy efficiency partnerships or integrated community energy solutions. These are just federal programs trying to drive sort of regional improvements in energy efficiency. On the other hand, on the stick, so this is a you shall do this approach, we've got the National Building Code, the National Energy Code for buildings. We'll talk about how those look here in Saskatchewan, but both of those regulate how much energy buildings can use and how efficient they need to be. And we've also got the carbon tax. So the kind of national backstop, which is in place here in Saskatchewan at the moment. It's been taken off of heating fuel for the time being, but in general, that carbon tax is applying as well as part of our kind of policy to encourage us to use less energy and reduce our greenhouse gas use. Provincially, we have some different policies and incentives. So currently, the Saskatchewan Climate Change Strategy, Prairie Resilience from 2017, some of the measures in there that have to do with buildings are they adopted the National Building Energy Code and also the National Building Code energy efficiency requirements. So in January of this year, we actually updated to the 2020 code. So we'll talk a bit more about that in the next module. We've got some grants and funding available. So in Saskatchewan, there's the Saskatchewan Technology Fund, which could go towards energy efficiency research for buildings. And our crowns also offer some help for energy efficiency. So SaskPower, they've got the Energy Assistance Program. Sask Energy, they've got some residential natural gas equipment rebate programs. And we'll talk a bit more about those in one of the later modules as well. Municipally, looking at Saskatoon in particular, as the sort of the location of this training, and the city of Saskatoon is the kind of one of the partners in this training. We can look at some of their policies and incentives. They have their climate action plan. So this is laying out what their direction is and their goals. We've got the Home Energy Loan Program, which is not taking new applicants as of this recording, but is a great program that hopefully is able to accept more applicants at some point in the future. There's the Energy Coaching Service. This is a great option for homeowners that want to learn more. So we'll talk a bit more about that later. And then some great tools. So the Solar Potential Map, the Home Energy Map, we'll look at these in depth in one of the future modules of this course. And finally, zooming out to more less of a government perspective, whether federal, provincial, or municipal, and more to our community and societal perspective. So, as a society, healthy buildings are going to make for healthy people. And there is strong overlap between energy efficiency and healthy buildings, as I talked about earlier. Also, outdoor air quality. So, the more we can drive down our greenhouse gas emissions and our combustion emissions, that's going to improve actually our outdoor air quality as well. And that's going to make for healthier people and a healthier planet as well. Also, we've seen, as I mentioned in Alberta, some of the stress that inefficient buildings can put on the grid. So, if we can design buildings that are not stressing our energy grids, but are actually able to help our energy grids during kind of times of peak demand, that is going to be good for us as a community because it's going to add to our resilience in the face of some of the kind of more challenging weather conditions or disasters that we might experience. And finally, that environmental stewardship piece. So making sure that we are caring for the planet the same way that the planet cares for us. So building buildings that help care for the planet as opposed to impose undue stress or burden on the planet. So to summarize, we looked at three different perspectives for why we should focus on home energy efficiency. We looked at an occupant perspective, and we saw that some of the things that matter to occupants would be comfort of their home, savings, increased health, resilience, and also environmental stewardship. As real estate agents, you might be interested in the price, how energy efficiency impacts the price of a home, how it impacts time on market. So faster sales versus slower sales of a home. And ultimately, probably you're interested in matching the right client to the right home. So understanding home energy efficiency, we hope, will help you do that better for those clients that are looking for an efficient home. And then we also looked at that community and societal perspective of saving energy, reducing our impact on the grid, reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, and caring for the planet. So these are some of the reasons why energy efficiency for the home is an important topic and one that we should be interested in learning more about. Okay, thanks so much. This was the end of Module 1. Stay tuned for Module 2.